And there you go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this session with Patrick Guimonet from France, the CEO and founder of Abalon, Microsoft MVP, talking about SharePoint Spaces. A few reminders: you can't chat, unfortunately. If you have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly to Patrick, or just wait until the end, unmute yourself and ask any question you have. Patrick, floor is yours. Start the rock and roll.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So it's my pleasure to present a session on SharePoint Spaces. And the main question you might have is, what is SharePoint Spaces, what it can be used for, and why would you need to go there? It's typically a way to transform, like we have on top of this slide, the static 2D logo of SharePoint to a more sexy, even more sexy, because nowadays modern SharePoint is already sexy, but if you want to get more sexy, you can create a SharePoint Spaces and get it in 3D and with a lot of moving parts. So that's what we will see in this session. Just a few words about me. My name is Patrick Guimonet. I am, as Gökhan said, based in the Greater Paris area, and it's really hot today, more than 30 degrees. So we are happy to be near some cooler. My job on a day-to-day basis is to help my customers build some solution using the Microsoft 365 toolset. And I have my own company, Abalon, where we are focused on exactly that. I love to be speaker and organizer of international events like this one. And before COVID crisis, we love to go in very cool place like the US, like Canada, like Brazil. And I'm sure that at some point we will do it again. I am member and founder of iOS community, where we organize such type of event with Gökhan and many others. You can find me or follow me on Twitter, for example, or LinkedIn. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn with me. And I have been awarded during 4 years Microsoft Regional Director, and since 10 times right now, I have been Microsoft MVP on several technologies, but SharePoint, Office 365, Office App and Services. And for sure, the next one will be Microsoft 365 something. I love to ask to the attendees who are working in the IT and who are working in the business part of organization, because I think this is the very key point of any success in this area. If you want your project deploying or using really getting the whole benefit of Microsoft 365, it's very, 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 very important to create a communication, a link, a discussion. Sometimes it's not an easy discussion. I know that, I understand that, but you should absolutely create this discussion between business and IT. If it's an IT only project, probably you will lose some key benefits, like the real people, the real business using the tools. And if it's a business only project, you will probably get at some point some trouble with technical stuff. So definitely, if you have only one thing to remember, from which side you are, go to the other side and speak with them and ask them what they can do and how you can help each other. So this session is all about SharePoint Spaces and 3D and virtual reality and things like that. So I will start with a demo, an in-depth demo of how to create a SharePoint Spaces. Then we will try to understand a little bit more what we have seen and what we have created. So we will try to give some more meaning to words like 3D, VR, AR, and things like that. And at the end, we will ask for which use cases you can use such technology. So let's demo SharePoint Spaces first. And I will start from a very useful, because a customer asked me to do that, a very useful use case, which is very common nowadays. We have an online event, which is in Teams. So usually exactly the type of event we have right now in the Valo Fest. But maybe for a company event, we can manage to create a keynote space and then some rooms for special discussion around here. For example, we have 4 topics: room 1, enterprise; room 2, endeavor; room 3, compass; and room 4, spirit, team spirit. And then we can imagine some spaces for example, take a virtual coffee or virtual library and some service desk stuff. So let's jump to the demo. I have my browser here, and I should put it on the screen. So here is my space in Teams. That's cool. That's super cool to create and to have such type of space in Teams. And if all the people are really happy with Teams, that can be enough. But at some point, some people like to have some way to go inside the space, inside the event. And for example, on the Valo Fest event, they have created a very beautiful and very useful page when you can go directly to the different session. You can see the agenda and things like that. So this is basically the same idea. And with SharePoint, you can really do a really cool space, a really cool page like this one. For example, I've created a 2-dimension page, classic modern page, not classic, so modern page with SharePoint, with some link to join directly the show. We can imagine a countdown, we can add some agenda somewhere and things like that. But definitely this is not the purpose of this session, to create a modern SharePoint page. Really here we want to focus on 3D pages to launch your event and to help all the people virtually go inside the different room. So how can we do that? As you probably know already, there are with each Teams there is an associated SharePoint site. And for example, if you go there, you can open your SharePoint site. But basically, this is a team site where you can find all your documents, things like that. But you can go to the home page of your site here, the URL, and here I am on the same page directly in my browser on SharePoint. Here, I could directly create a space directly from here on the new button at the same level that you can create a list, document library, and things like that. And I have the space preview option. Interesting thing is that this is only available if you have activated a feature. So let me show you where you should activate this feature. It's in site information. You can go in all site settings. And at the site level, you have some feature you can activate or deactivate. And there, you know that you have site feature. And you should find this one, sites space preview, and you should either activate it or verify it is already activated. If it's deactivated, then you will not get the menu option to create a new space on your main page. So this is the main prerequisite to activate SharePoint Spaces. Interesting thing as well is that you can create, as I said, directly here or you can go as well in the page library and create the space as a page. In fact, let's do it. The first thing to understand is that a space is exactly created at the same level as a SharePoint standard page. So first, we can try to do a lobby for our event. Lobby. So a space has obviously a name. Then you should put a description. So this is for my annual event. And on the left, you can see the first thing which is called structure. You have to choose a type of three-dimensional structure where your all your artifacts will be put. So you have different. It's not clear at this time to understand what is it and what it will give you. So let's start with the most simple one, which is called terrace, and this can be a very good start for any example, because on the terrace you just get a terrace where you put all your 3D artifacts, and no need to add some beautiful arch or amphitheater on top of your stuff. So let's create it like that. And here we have our first SharePoint Spaces. The first thing to do is to move it. You can really quickly and smoothly rotate all the space, and we can do a full 360-degree rotation looking on the top or looking on your foot. You can do it as you want. It's very easy to manage that by the moving the mouse. So really this is interesting, but it's a very empty space. So you can probably see that you have a site design button on the top left. So let's have a look on it. And here you can define some more options for your space. So you can change or modify description, name, structure, but you can see here some interesting option. You can define the background. So the background of your space is by default an image, and a beautiful image. So you have the choice of many places, mostly I would say wild nature image. You can choose as well as a very simple illustration with different types of color. Not very useful to my mind, but it's there. You can define a full colored space, and you can, interestingly enough, choose a custom 360 file. For example, here, if I want to do a business event, I probably don't want to use some mountains or some beautiful outside pictures. I would prefer to use something like that, which is probably more adequate for a business event. Let's see how it looks. So we are inside a building with some different space, some beautiful view on the top. So that makes an interesting background for my event. If you want to find a picture you can put here, definitely you have to go to you can go to Google and find some 360 free view of a building, of anything, and you will find, I'm sure, some interesting feature. You can define the height of your picture and of your terrace. So the terrace is the white floor you can see here, even when I am rotating the whole stuff. So the terrace is this floor you can use to put, as I said, the artifact we will be able to add. You can define at exactly at what the originating view, when you start the space, where is it showing up. So this place is good for me. You can define an audio. This is a really cool feature, in fact. Here you have the capabilities to define an intro audio file, for example, to explain the people what they are supposed to see in this space and what they are supposed to do. So I have no audio file right now, but I definitely encourage you to create one because SharePoint Space is a little bit new for some people. It can be challenging to understand what is it and why do we have to manipulate such a 3D view and things like that. So a quick explanation in an audio file could be great. And then you have also the option to create a good ambient sound, to add a good ambient sound. So you have some predefined sound like this one, nature. I'm not sure you get the sound. Gökhan, do you hear something, or should I probably check?
We don't hear any sound, Patrick.
You don't hear the sound, so let me check the because I didn't select the option I supposed to share with. Sorry for that. I'm supposed to share with the sound, and sometimes I should include the system audio. Yes, and right now it should be much better, and you should be able to hear the sound. So you have some cool ambient sound like rain, for example. If you like the rain, you can add some music, or you can even add your own audio file. At some point, this ambient sound can be a little bit noisy, so you can put it very low, make it just a little ambient sound as it is designed to be. Okay, so this is, once you have done some change here, you can republish your environment, and then you are here. You can copy the URL at this time and share this by email or in Teams or with any other. So here is our space, but definitely it's still empty. Even it has been personalized with the background. Really, it helps personalize and to give some intent to the space by choosing a very appropriate background. But the most interesting thing is on the top left, you get a plus sign, and then you get access to the web part. So these are the specific web parts designed for SharePoint Spaces. So as I said, you should have in mind that this is very similar to a standard SharePoint page. So like in standard SharePoint page, you can add some web parts, and these are the web parts. You should understand it as in two parts. On the left, on the far left, you have 3D object, and we will come back to it very soon. And on the right, you have the object. Oh, I have. So the 5 on the right, on the top line, 4 on the top line, and the 1 below. These are 2D web parts. So that's the easiest way to start. So let's start with first an image. I add my artifact, my image artifact on the space, and you can see I can put it everywhere on the terrace, but I can't go outside the terrace. Here, for example. So let's put here
Can you share your screen, please? Because we don't see anything.
You don't see anything?
No, can you share your screen with us?
The screen is shared, Patrick. So
the screen is shared. We can see the screen.
Okay.
I can see also your screen.
For me, it's shared. For me, it's shared, and I have another view, and I'm not sure why some people don't see it, but definitely you will be able to see it on the rig. So here, for example, we can choose an image of a map, the world map, and then I can put my image very close to me or very outside of the space. When I select the object, I have on the bottom several ways to really specify the angle of the object, the distance from the user. So you should understand that on this space you are always supposed to be in the middle of the center of the scene, the center of the terrace, and you can navigate to your object you put in your space. So here I can change the distance to something more close to me, close at this time, but you get the idea. Okay, here is my image, and I can make. I have some angle I can use to rotate every direction the image object. I can duplicate object.
Maybe you should stop the rain background.
Sorry?
The rainy background sound.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Great.
And you can define the scale of the object. So if you need to have it bigger, it's really easy with this option. You have a little pencil here as well to specify some more option on this object. For example, the depth of the appearance. You have to define you can define some corner. You can define alternate text. You can show a podium. So if you want to, you can put all your artifact on a podium stuff. And you can define the height of the podium, so it can be interesting. And any times you can change the image. So we started with this picture, but definitely we can change it at some point. Once again, if you want to save, it's exactly like a page in SharePoint. So if you want to save your activity, you can save it as a draft, or you can discard some change if you want, or you can save as a template. So you can define your space if it's if you are happy with the work, you can save it as a template and reuse it for a different event, for example, in our case. When it is OK, you can republish, and then when you have republished it, everyone will be able to share it. So just interesting thing is to have a look on the related page library. So if we go on our site and have a look on the site pages, page library for this site, we can see that our event lobby .aspx, so it's exactly a page, as I said. Our event lobby is there, and we have some information about the fact that I have checked out this item, so others cannot edit at the same time. So it's a check-in, check-out model, and this page is currently not published, so I am able to republish it right now. And obviously, I will get a standard SharePoint information on this specific event. And interesting thing is that I get all activity field in the information pane. So let's go back to our event. Yeah. So this was our first try. Let's review the other cool stuff. I can add very easily some text. So here, for example, I want to put it in front of my map. I want to say this is map. Oh, so I have to enter edit mode. I have to edit. I want to say this is map of planet Earth. Okay. And I can put this exactly in front of my image. I can choose a video. So video, a 2D video will display as, so here I have a cool celebration video with some fireworks. So you will see that I can put it exactly as a screen. In fact, it's exactly displayed as an image in my environment. I can try to put it like that. Okay. I can add some podium to give some exact feeling here. Okay, let's do it like that. And republish. If I publish like that, I can see that my audience, my people can go on the artifact, and when they click on the artifact, they have a full view of it. If it's a video, obviously, they will get a view of the video, but not in full screen, as you can see. You have the sound. So that's pretty cool. Just for this, to show you every option, I want to show you the last 2D option. The last 2D option is the less interesting for me is people option. People option can be to show some card of people. I want it to be a little bit bigger here. So I don't really see the whole interest of it, but maybe if I want to say that Mr. Test will be the speaker of this session, it can be interesting to have this type of option with a podium, of course, and things like that. So this is basically the 2D option you have. So text, image, video, and people. You can also have the file option. So let's add the file viewer. File viewer will get a view of, for example, I should find some PowerPoint somewhere in the site. If I can get it in my document libraries. So interesting thing here is that, for example, I think it's in Keynote. Yes, for example, here I have a PPT with the agenda, so it can be cool to put that on my space. Interesting thing is that is this exact view of the file you get in Teams. So obviously, if you will modify this exact file in Teams, it will be modified accordingly in your SharePoint space. So really, this is cool view to display some interesting graphical file. So here, for example, my file, just to show you how it looks like in PowerPoint. It's a 2-slide in PowerPoint. And in SharePoint Spaces, the first one is displayed, obviously. Okay. So let's go back to the lobby. So you get the idea. Let's make a podium as well. Things like that. Okay, and you can rotate if you want your space like that. So this is definitely how we can manage to organize our two-day object. But definitely, if you want to do a SharePoint space, you will probably want to use some 3D objects. So the four first objects are 3D. So the first one is a 3D image. So let me show you how it will work. In fact, when you add a 364-degree image, you need to put. You can do it with a small image, but if you want to have a good result, this is cool to have a very large panoramic view. For example, here I have a view of the night sky, the sky night. I have found on the internet. So really, here is how it appears. It appears like a small bubble on your desk, and when you click as a user, when you click on it, you are just like going inside the image, the 360-degree image, and you can make it rotate on the place you are. So this is very cool way to navigate in such a place. If you want to close it, you have to click on the background and things. So this is basically a 360-degree image. Interesting thing is how it will handle my map of Earth. So let's add another 360-degree object here, and let's choose the map. Interestingly enough, it will create a cool representation of my globe, and here I enter directly really inside the image. And we can see that there is not so much deformation in the, for example, in the North Pole. And definitely the map was not designed to be 360 degrees. So that's a cool way to get a 360 degree representation from an even flat file. So I'm pretty impressed by the way how it's handled such a map. So let's see how we can. Yes, we can see that. So this is the same file, but handled as a 2D flat image or as a 360 image. That's pretty cool. Probably you can use as well a 360-degree video, but I don't have real 360-degree video. So if you can, same way, you can use a standard video here, and it will provide I would say some psychedelic effect here on my firework video. Let's have a look on it. Okay, I want to push it like that. Here. So you have the same way, you have a bubble with the fact that this is a video, and it's not so bad, but in fact it's deforming the video because you think everything is coming from one point, but this is not the case. So it can be I think, yes, here you see that what I call the psychedelic effect. When you use a 2D video to put in a 360 video item. So I would not do that. I would not encourage to do that. So if you want 360 video, create it as a 360 video. But probably the most interesting stuff is a 3D object. So you can ask, what is a 3D object? In fact, we can have some very interesting object in Office right now. So we have a 3D catalog available. Interesting thing is that you have many cool stuff here. You can see on the little icon on the left, bottom left of each square that some models are animated. I can find some cool stuff. For example, let's go to here. And I can, for example, choose the fish and click, and here you get a view of what are the 3D object fish. That's very cool because it seems like the fish are flying or are swimming directly in my space. So that's very cool. To have this sort of animation, 3D animation appearing on my environment. So this, if you want to have a look on and test all these 3D objects in the 3D catalog, you should know that you have the exact same catalog in PowerPoint, and that you can, I will show you just after the demo, and you can handle or test all this cool stuff directly in PowerPoint, which is a little bit easier if you want. You can find, in fact, you can upload any cool stuff created in the correct format. So it's a special GLB or SFX format you should have there. And for example, here I have found on a very cool blog post by Mark Rackley. I will give you the exact URL. Cool stuff like rotating Teams icon or rotating, I have as well a rotating SharePoint stuff here, for example, and I have created my own Microsoft 365 logo if needed. So with all of this, you can create very easily and very quickly some cool space. I think we will. I don't want to be out of time, so I think I will switch to an already almost finished space to show you a little bit more. So let's go back to site content. Yes, here, and I go to my page. I obviously can directly go there with a one-click option if I know the URL, but I have already created a space here where I want to show you some more stuff. Okay, so it's recreated, it's loading the space. And here is a similar space I've created to my to handle my event. So here I have the keynote space, and the idea is that people will click on the keynote and then they will be able to open the link to directly the, for example, here to the Teams, the channel in Teams or the meeting in Teams. So it should go there, yes, to the dedicated meeting in Teams. So that's a way to really put the people, email the people in the event before going to the Teams, and to make them happy, even more happy to join the space. Here I have a cool 3D object, which is, as you can see, a bee. I can manipulate or a 3D object like that. And here I have a rugby ball. Interesting thing here is if you change the or if you remove the file, you will get some item not found artifact here, and you can at every time edit the item to show what it is and what is supposed to be. So here I have some logo. It's a 3D object, so I can go there and I can, for example, replace the logo with the M365 logo, and it will be there again. You can put that directly in front of an image, and for example, here you can see that both are appearing on the correct place. I want to show you as well that we can rotate everything. We have seen that. I want to show you how we can go to, for example, another space, but not sure it is configured correctly. We will see that. Here, for example, I have the action. When I click on the keynote, I have the action. The default action appearing when I click on the image, but you can do a right click and to link to several other spaces. For example, here I can have a view, open my picture if it's an interesting picture. Not especially the case here, but you get the idea. I can play an audio file from here. An interesting thing is I can go to another space, so I can create a chain of spaces and go from one space to the other. For example, here, if I want to go outside, I can create a more night space, a night-oriented space here, or if I want to go back, I can go back very easily on clicking on the background. Sorry for the sound. I think I have another space I can show you. Yes, interesting. Oh, yes. So here, and here I go to the other space. I'm supposed to be the correct one. No, this is the same. So let me find the URL. I have an URL somewhere. So here I directly go to another space where I want to show you the last object I didn't use in my event space, but it can be useful at some point. This is a SharePoint library items. So here you can see how is displayed a SharePoint libraries. So every file has a similar view, and you can open every file if you want, and you can rotate on every document. At this time, Excel don't get a very cool overview, but Word and PowerPoint are working quite well. Probably this will change after the preview. So basically, here is all I wanted to show you on the demo part, and we have to go on the next. Last thing to show on the demo part. Yes, it's here. If I select any object in edit mode, I can see that if I go to edit mode, if I can see that in fact, for every object you have on the top right option, you have a default action, what they call on-trigger action, which is, we can see it by default inspect. Oh, so inspect is showing up the whole object in front of you. And you can add up to 4 more action, which is what you get on right click. So you can link to another space. We have seen that. You can play an audio file, or you can link to a standard page or standard URL. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. Yeah, we are here. So we started from a Teams. We can make a 2-day space. I go very quickly on all of this because we have seen that in the demo, but you will find all the explanation on the slide deck. You can populate your space. We have seen that. We have seen that we can populate with 2D object and with 3D objects. So that's a cool part of it. Yeah. The SharePoint library and the define action. So at this time with the preview, we have, as I said, only 4 type of action, which is already a quite thing, but we can imagine to have more action in the future. And you can have up to by doing a right click, you can have up to 5 action added to your object. So let's try to better understand everything we have seen. First, a quick definition of what is 3D. My PowerPoint is restarting. To let you know, my PowerPoint deck is very big because I have added several 3D objects. So yes, okay, it didn't crash. So what is 3D? 3D, it's interesting to note that 3-dimensional computer graphics is used to have a 3-dimensional representation, but you are rendering this 3-dimensional representation on a 2D images, like because our screen are all 2D screen. So that's interesting to note this. And basically you have 3 phases. First phase is to create a 3D model object. Then the program need to add some layouts and some animation. And at the end of the process, you have the 3D rendering, which is a way to once again to render in 2D what is modeled in 3D. How can I experiment it? For example, if you want to use or play with this beautiful bee, then you can use the 3D tools you have in Windows 10. So basically you have a 3D viewer, and you have also Pen 3D, where you can create some cool object from there. And definitely you have all the same 3D model available in SharePoint Spaces. You have them in PowerPoint or in Excel or in Word, I think, as well. But definitely it's supposed to be there in PowerPoint. And for example, you can add some cool helicopter like that and put some animation. So in fact, you have 2 types of animation. You can have, like on the bee, you have animation embedded in the object, but you can as well add some PowerPoint animation that will make the object rotate and display in several ways. Here, for example, I use the embed animation to show the helicopter rotating stuff. So that's embedded in the object. So this is some view of the 3D viewer you can experiment in Windows 10. And on the top right, you have an interesting view of what is a mixed reality, because you add the 3D object in front of a picture of me, a living picture of me. And then this is what definitely define mixed reality. This is a mix of something real and something modeled by the 3D process. So what is mixed reality? We have several acronyms for MR for mixed reality, AR for augmented reality, augmented virtuality, virtual reality. What is important to understand is that mixed reality is a mix, as we said, of real and virtual worlds. And there is definitely a continuum of a way to go to a totally virtual environment to a totally real environment. And depending on the percentage of virtuality you get, you are more on the augmented reality part or more on the augmented virtuality part. So there is not a better definition than to say there is a mix, a continuum of mixed reality. About my SharePoint Spaces, some cool hints that can be useful for you. You can add, we have seen that the background picture is, I think, very important stuff. So it's very important to choose a very cool 360 background image. So there is a very cool link here on made by a very cool post made by Mark Rackley, explaining how you can use almost all space in Google Maps. You can see in Google Maps and use it as a SharePoint Spaces background image. And another point is how to create some 3D object. On this other cool post and a video from Mark, you can see how to create, for example, the cool Microsoft logo in 3D, starting from a 2D image. So that's things that can be very useful if you want to create a real environment. And this is how I created my own Microsoft 365 logo in 3D here, coming from a very flat file. You can, I will get you some resources and you have the link to download it if you want to embed it in your environment. To be precise, what are the assets you can embed? Here you have the exact file extension that can be used as model, as videos, as photos. So photos, it's very usual format, but 3D models are much less easy to find and to manipulate, but you have all the formats available here. Sorry, it went too quick. Okay. For the software, what is really cool in this implementation is that you don't need any complicated software. You just need a modern browser. So it displays really well in Chrome, in Edge, Chromium, in Firefox, and I suppose, because I didn't test it in Opera and Safari, but I suppose it's the same. You can, at some point, use some in-mounted display or some specific hardware, but it's definitely not needed. And all I did to create this session was without any specific hardware, just a standard PC. You have also a very great resource, which is called 3D Content Guidelines from Microsoft. So this is a deck of PowerPoint slides. You can download explaining very interesting details about how the 3D engine work, because the SharePoint 3D engine is, as I said, is the same as the 3D engine we have in PowerPoint, for example, so in the whole Office stuff. So you can get some very deep technical, interesting technical information going to this source of information. So last question is, for which use case do you want to use this, or do you think it can be useful to use this new capabilities around SharePoint? Definitely, I have my own ideas, because, as I said, I have already had a customer use case with the planning of preparation of a virtual event lobby. But I think everybody should find his own scenario. And there are definitely, once you have integrated how the technology works, it can be very, it must be easy to find some cool scenarios like onboarding or campus tour. It can be great, especially if you think about a big campus like Microsoft Campus. Product catalogs and trainings can be cool stuff, a cool way to present new products in any company, I suppose. And a new product launch, and then on this slide, we are going to very similar to a launch event and any launch activity. So marketing, event marketing activities seems to be a very good scenario you can think about. So thank you very much. I think we are just on time. To finish, some cool resources. So the documentation on support.microsoft.com, you have a very well explanation, very well made explanation of every activity and every web part and things like that. And I have crafted for you all the resources around SharePoint Spaces. You can get it on this way. And I will publish the whole stuff on my LinkedIn and probably via the event page as well. So thank you very much. And if you have any question at this time, feel free to raise your hand or push some question in the
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Yeah.
We are running out of time.
Yeah.
The other speaker will just jump in now because it only has like 2 minutes left. If you still have questions about SharePoint Spaces, you can always reach Patrick through the Valo Fest hashtag or through LinkedIn or through any social media. Patrick is everywhere. Thanks a lot. It was an amazing session. I learned a lot about SharePoint Spaces. And now it's placed to the next speaker. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yeah. Thank you very much.